The rain fell gently against the windows, like a lullaby that refused to let me rest. I sat curled up on the velvet couch, sore from the week's chaos. Meetings, errands, the weight of loneliness pressing just a little harder than usual. The flicker of candlelight gave the living room a soft, golden glow, and the faint scent of sandalwood floated through the space. It was the kind of evening meant for comfort. And maybe, I thought, for a little help. Drew, I called gently, my voice slightly hoarse from the day's silence. He was in the kitchen, tall frame leaning against the counter, stirring tea like he had all the time in the world. My stepson. Though that word always felt oddly distant. He'd been in my life for over a decade, growing from a shy teen into the confident, quietly magnetic man who now shared this house with me again after moving back from college. He looked up at me, brushing a few damp strands of hair off his forehead. Yeah, I shifted on the couch, rubbing the back of my neck, with a small wince. I've had the worst tension all day. Would you mind giving me a quick shoulder massage? Drew paused, his dark brows rising just slightly. You sure? I smiled, trying to play it off casually. I won't bite, promise. He chuckled, set the mug down, and walked over, the sound of his footsteps soft against the rug. He moved behind the couch and hesitated for a moment. I felt it, that pause that said this wasn't a usual request. But then his hands gently touched my shoulders. His fingers were strong and warm, pressing into the tight knots of muscle that had taken root beneath my skin. At first, it was just relief, the kind that made me exhale, long and deep, my eyes fluttering shut as I gave in to the feeling. But then, something changed. Maybe it was the way his hands lingered a second too long, or the way his breath ghosted near my ear as he leaned closer. Maybe it was my own pulse, which had started to thrum like a low drumbeat beneath the surface of my skin. Or maybe it was that moment when his thumb slid just a bit lower, tracing a line that made my breath hitch without meaning to. You're really tense, he murmured, his voice lower now, softer. I nodded, but couldn't speak, and when his hands, stilled, not pulling away, just resting there, I felt the air between us shift, a crackle of something forbidden and warm, and terrifyingly real. I turned my head slightly, meeting his eyes over my shoulder. His gaze was unreadable at first, until I saw it, the want. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Instead, he lifted a hand and brushed a strand of hair behind my ear. His touch feather-light, reverent. My heart thundered. My thoughts screamed that this was wrong. He was my stepson. But my body betrayed me with a shiver that told a different story. And then, slowly, carefully, like the world might shatter if we moved too fast, he leaned down and kissed my bare shoulder. The room went still. I turned fully toward him, breathless, and yet breathing him in like he was the air I hadn't known I'd missed. Drew, I whispered. He didn't answer. He just waited, eyes searching mine, waiting for me to say no, or yes, and I didn't say anything at all, because in that moment, words would have only gotten in the way. The seconds after the kiss felt longer than the hours we had spent in silence that day. The soft light flickered across Drew's face as he pulled back just enough to look at me, not to ask for forgiveness, not to apologize, but to make sure I truly saw him, not as the boy I had helped raise, not as the son of a man I had once loved, but as a man in his own right, one who had felt something between us just as undeniably as I had. And I saw him, not with guilt, not with shame, but with a hunger that I had kept buried far too long. I reached up, brushing my fingertips across his jaw. a touch that spoke louder than any words I could manage. He leaned into it, eyes fluttering closed for a brief moment, and when he opened them again, there was no hesitation left. No more waiting. He kissed me, not tentative, not testing, but like he had imagined it 100 times, like I had. His lips were warm and firm and slow, but underneath that restraint was a fire, one that flared the second I kissed him back. My hands tangled in his shirt, pulling him closer. As I rose from the couch, our bodies meeting fully for the first time, I could feel his heart racing through his chest as I pressed mine against his. "Tell me to stop," he whispered against my lips, though his hands were already sliding down my waist, fingers memorizing me. "If you want me to, I will, but I didn't. I couldn't." I shook my head and murmured, "Don't stop." He kissed me again, deeper now, and guided me gently backward. The couch forgotten behind us as we found the stairs. Each step a surrender. We reached my room and I hesitated for a heartbeat. Not out of fear, but because everything about this felt like standing on a cliff's edge, knowing once we jumped, there'd be no return to what we were before. He saw the flicker in my eyes, but instead of pulling away, he took my hand. "Just this moment," he said, voice rough and real. "No one else, nothing else, just you and me," and that was all I needed. When we kissed again, it was different. Not rushed, not reckless, but reverent. He peeled my sweater off like it was sacred, not cloth. His eyes drinking in every inch of skin, like he had dreamed it. I did the same, to him, watching the lines of his body unfold before me. Muscles tight, breath heavy, the bed creaked beneath us as we sank onto it, tangled in sheets and each other. His touch was no longer hesitant. It was sure, aching, full of intent, and mine matched it. Stroke for stroke, sigh for sigh, every kiss was a question, and every touch was the answer. It wasn't just passion. It was years of closeness twisted into something undeniable. It was wrong. It was beautiful. And by the time the candlelight faded into the hush of midnight, there was no space left between us. Not on the bed, not in our hearts, not in the echo of what we'd done. I lay beside him, fingers tracing the ridge of his collarbone, unsure of what came next. He turned to me, brushing a kiss to my temple. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he whispered, "but I don't regret it. Neither did I. Not then. Not in the hush of morning, when the world returned. Quiet but real. Because sometimes the most breathtaking things happen, not when we plan them, but when we dare to cross a line we never thought we'd even approach.